Good morning. Good morning. It's a little bit of a different stream today. Here in good old Augusta, Georgia, it's the start of Masters Week. So I am at work, dark and early, with like about 100 animals getting dropped off today. Staffed up. Ultimately going to be a pretty boring day, but I'm here, making sure everything goes according to plan and all good. So hopefully other people jump on at some point in the stream, because who knows when I'll get pulled away. But it's Friday, so I figured I'd attempt to still have this going, have something to pop in on and do throughout the day, throughout the morning. Let's see what we got in the chat already. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on? He said, what's up, guys? So excited. Just ordered my birthday gifts. Dude, that's awesome. Happy birthday to you, homie. You got me 6 Batman figurines. Wow. You got Hush and the Batman Who Laughs, Azrael, and a Michelangelo Last Ronin figure. Can't wait to put them on my display. Nice. Yeah, once you start, you don't stop. I actually, a video I made last night that I recorded last night is about changing up my collecting. I actually picked up something for the first time. It's kind of like a, what do you call it? Like opening Pandora's box. You know, the first toy you get it in hand, and you're like, wait a minute, I really like these. I kind of want more of these toys. And then you get that first CGC comic, and it's like, oh man, these look great. I could use some more of these. So hopefully you get the same bug and start collecting more figures. There's a lot of good ones out there. I know I enjoy picking them up. This is Baxter. Hey, Baxter. He's chilling. It's Willow. She's not chilling. But yeah, happy birthday, homie. Good morning, Wellbore. How are you today? Dope. Dope is in the building. Says Heroes Con. Dude, it's right around the corner. I am pumped for Heroes Con. Looking forward to it. Don't forget Comics Curing Cancer, man. We got a lot of cool stuff we're working on for Heroes Con too. Trying to get things finished up, get things rolling so that we have some really cool stuff for people that are attending Heroes Con. Great way to support the American Cancer Society. When the community comes together like butt cheeks, we get a lot done. So I'm definitely excited to meet you there, homie. Excited to meet a lot of people there. Well, Boar, what's happening? JSS says, Nerdy, that's wonderful. Happy birthday. Good morning, Pop Pop. See, Pop Pop is in the chat, up early as well. It's unusual for him. He normally sleeps till noon. It's not true. Stephen with a C, good morning to you, good sir. Yeah, it's fun. I have about 20 figurines saved in my cart for future purposes. Not done looking either. Yeah, I would highly suggest checking out I'm sure those are McFarlane figures, the Batman and Hush stuff. I would suggest checking out the actual McFarlane Toy Store website. They have a lot of stuff that rotates on sale pretty often. That's where I order all mine from. They got some good stuff on there. It looks like the rabbits that live under my porch. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's definitely a different rabbit, but yeah, we get a good bit of rabbits. I didn't realize how many different rabbit breeds are kept as pets and stuff, like the floppy ears, the cottontails, stuff like that. Figurines and comics just make the display look so much better. Yeah, I do the same thing. You've seen my background, my little display shelves. It's always cool when you have a figure to actually match the comic book itself. It just displays well. It displays really well. That's why I've been looking very, very difficultly for this specific Turok toy. There's not very many out there, but I want to get this one specific Turok toy to have to create this display. I'm working on creating a display for Turok. This read through that I'm doing of it, I'm absolutely loving it, and I want to memorialize it with a proper display. Good morning, Kenny B. Omnibo, what's happening, homie? Good to see you in here. And if anybody wants to join, the link is in the Legion chats. I didn't send it out 50 different places, but I don't have the ability to send it out, so you'd have to dip into the Legion chat. But good seeing you guys in here. Yeah, the video I did last night trying to get ahead of this busy week, because I'll be working every day. I'm going to attempt to get Tuesday off. If things are going smoothly, might come in the morning and take like a long break in the middle of the day. But I was trying to get ahead on content, and I recorded a video last night leveling up my collection, and the audio was jacked up, and I had to completely scrap it. But I redid it. So if you are a channel member with early access, definitely worth the time to check that out today. Good morning, Mr. Mike Becker. How are you today? Did I had a good time in the chat with you guys on the little wrestling stream last night? That was fun. Didn't mean to hijack it with my WCW talk, but talking WCW really elevated the stream. I've been on a Big Bad Toy Store or something like that. Yeah, Big Bad Toy Store. Yeah, I've never ordered anything from there, but I've like window shopped their site. Definitely want to check out the McFarlane. Trying to get all the deals before I pay the high dollar ones. Yeah, there's a handful of them too that, especially on the secondary market, are super expensive. There's a good handful of them that most of them stay around like MSRP price. They don't really depreciate in value, which is unfortunate because it's not like comics where you're like, I'll just wait a little while and get them for half off. That doesn't happen too often. I mean, there's some peg warmers out there, but they're peg warmers for a reason and not the ones you'll be after. And then there's a good handful of them that are just like in that $70 to $100 range, just right under three figures. And then there's a handful that are three figures. That Spectre, that Hal Jordan Spectre one I have is like a $250 to $300 McFarlane figure. I think it's the most valuable one I have. It's also like the least likely to ever be sold. Most of them have been buying in 10 to 15 so far, 25 max. That's why I was able to get so many. Yeah, check those sales, man. I would check the sales on both those sites. And there's I'm trying to think of who else is a big McFarlane distributor. Amazon and Walmart. Amazon and Walmart both get exclusives with McFarlane on a regular basis. And if you go to their website, because they keep them stocked in their stores, they'll have different ones on sales at different times. Bob said Rob must have jet lag from WonderCon. Must have, dude, the one day, right? The one day that Rob's late. That's pretty funny. My allergies are already killing me from being around all these cats. But yeah, dude, in nights, I like to start a Green Lantern display with a green LED light. Dude, I'm stacked up on the Green Lanterns now. I've done that from the beginning, collecting the Green Lantern figures. I try to stick with just the movie figure versions. Like 95% of mine are just movie versions of figures. But the Green Lantern ones I picked up along the way. So I've been building out the core. I've got like a couple of different Hal Jordans, because initially Hal Jordan only came with the 2-pack with Dawnbreaker from Dark Knight's Metal. And then I got the two different John Stewarts, the modern and the classic, Kilowog, two different Kyle Rayners, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz. They're coming out with Jade right now, which is Alan Scott's daughter. I've got Alan Scott. Those are some really cool ones. The Green Lantern figures always look great. Always look great. But yeah, I made it my thumbnail today because this has pretty much been the stream that I discuss it more than anything. Daredevil comes out every Tuesday or something like that. So by the time this stream happens, it's been days. It's definitely been well past the point of worrying about spoilers. If somebody's going to watch it, they'd have watched it. And if they haven't watched it by now, it isn't like they're honestly concerned with spoilers, because you would have seen them all over the place at this point, even by accident, scrolling through stuff. But we had episode whatever number it was. It was actually I thought it was a pretty fun episode. It was pretty solid, a well-round episode. It did a lot of meaningful plot progression for multiple characters in this ensemble cast show. It unfortunately did one thing terrible, and it kind of plays to the point that I made in a video last week. I did a video talking about if the DCU is doomed or not. And the topic was talking about the villain problem in all these cinematic universes. kind of the go-to is that old method that we saw in like the Michael Keaton era, the Christopher Reeve era, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where villains are good for one movie. You kill them off. It was like one of the big differences between the mediums of comic books to film is in comic books, these villains last forever. They're reoccurring for as long as the comic's running. Even if you kill them off, someone will bring them back. In the movies, different medium. You know, the good guys got to triumph over evil. They tend to kill the villains. Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, hell, they even killed the Joker first time out. Penguin, Zod back in Superman 2. It's just the norm. And they fell into that same trap in the MCU stuff, you know, save for Thanos being like the big reoccurring villain. And look how beloved he is and how like well respected as a villain he is. I mean, granted, he had like an amazing arc, but they kept him around. Meaningful. Everyone else, they just chumped off, one-offed them in movies. And then you got like the whole meme, like these terrible like CGI grayscale one movie villain kind of things. And I was talking about if DCU is going to fall into that same trap and got into a few things, but that's exactly what they did with the new Daredevil show. You know, you have this whole season that's not got much of a direction at all to it. There's no real focused plot. There's no main plot line. Everything is just happening all over randomly. And then we're well over halfway through when they first show Muse that he's even a character in this show. And once they show him, you don't see him again after a filler episode. And then he pops up briefly for just, I mean, if you clock his screen time, it's minuscule. And he pops up and you see that what he does to people. Then the very next episode, you know, like he's fighting Daredevil and the therapist lady he's dating, and he absolutely gets killed. They kill him off. If you clock all of his screen time for Muse, it's probably under 5 minutes for this entire season. I mean, from being introduced, from fighting Daredevil and dying at the hands of the therapist, under 5 minutes, I'd guess. Movie people haven't figured out how to put the villains on a back burner. No, my point is just Amanda Waller. Oh my gosh.
She's so sweet. She's blind in one eye, has a few teeth.
Oh my goodness. You fine? Look at that. Did she not have a crate?
No.
I got crates out here. Yeah, well, let's put this in her room with her. I left 2 of them out here because a few people always don't listen.
Well, she has a leash. So.
Yeah, that doesn't help us when we go to clean her. Look at her kid. You don't see a cat on a leash very often.
And she's blind in one eye.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
How old is she, did she say?
She didn't say, but I'm going to assume she's probably older, like 8 or 9.
Well, since she has like one eye and that can mess with her depth perception, can we bottom row her, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any of them be good? She's super cute. Should be fine. And I also have multiple latches if I need to replace it. Yeah, I bought a bunch of new latches, and it just takes me like 2 seconds to replace them if they get beat up. Oh, that cat was cute. Is Chip in here? Hey, Chip. Good morning, man. But yeah, they fell into the same trap with Muse. Killed him. They need to start Amanda Wallering some of these people. And the biggest insult to this show, to Disney's Daredevil era, wasn't doing a one-off villain. It was throwing the villain away, and now we don't have any antagonists for Daredevil. Like, it's a Daredevil show. There's been nobody that's been an actual antagonist for Matt in this season. You know, we had one conversation with Wilson, and they've been doing their own thing. Matt's over here doing this. Wilson's over there doing that. You know, Kingpin's always going to be a villain, but there's been no cause and effect. There's been no consequences. There's been nothing of their actions are affecting each other for this entire season. And we've been aimless. You introduce Muse in the back 9 here, like we're going to do something, and we don't do nothing. So now we're left standing here. 2 episodes left of the season, I think, maybe 1, and we got no direction. So that means we're going to have to shoehorn something else in here. For a finale, that means there's going to be nothing meaningful about it. And it's that kind of writing that really, I think, is what's costing them, the fans, what's costing them like the goodwill from the general public. It's costing them views. Unless you're going to have a meaningful show, it's not going to be memorable. Doesn't matter how cool one fight scene is. Doesn't matter that Matt ate 3 side kicks to the face and kept pushing forward, which was cool as hell. Because that's not going to be remembered. What you remember is what you feel. That's how that stuff works. That's why Endgame is so memorable. That's why the Snyder Cut's so memorable for so many. These are just CGI fight moments and stuff. It's been done 1,000 times. It's not real. No one thinks it's real. No one's convinced it's real. We're not stupid. It's what we feel when we're watching it that affects us and stays with us. And they've got no feeling in this show at all. It's just shallow, hollow. And until they figure that out, until they get better at that, it's going to be doing the same thing over and over. Less and less people tuning in, losing more and more subscribers, wasting more and more characters, money. And that's a big crime, is how many characters they're wasting and losing potential. And once they burn them off, like, you're done. You're done. A good villain's only good until that first defeat. And then they kind of go down in value. Every time you use them again, they kind of go down in value. They just don't know what they're doing. But hopefully the next 2 episodes does a lot of work to set up the next season. And we get a good second season, because it seems like it's coming fast. We'll see. But definitely good to see Chip in here. Sadly, Gary over at Nerdrotic has been despairing the new Superman film mark. It doesn't look like a good outcome for this outing, unfortunately. Nerdrotic and his crew are notoriously negative. Yeah, I keep up with what a lot of people say. I keep up with what Nerdrotic says here and there. Typically his what's it called, Forbidden Worlds, that stream he does, doing like the archaeology and the UFO stuff. I enjoy that kind of stuff, but I don't think anyone's wrong for disparaging what they're seeing so far. I don't blame them one bit. Based on what I've seen, I'm super excited because I'm very hopeful, but I don't have it in me to be overly optimistic about it. I'm on the fence about a lot of it. I'm definitely going to have to wait and see how it plays out. There's still like that whole Zack Snyder taste in my mouth in a good way. I like the Snyderverse stuff, but yeah, I don't know, man. There's I see Superman in the trailer, and I see stuff that I don't feel like is Superman in the footage and all that. I don't know. I think the movie's going to do amazing, because one thing I think that the James Gunn Superman has going for it, I think a lot of just MCU casuals have kind of shifted over. They're hyped over there just based off just like the footprint it's getting. Yeah, the Nerdrotic crew, they definitely normally talk more about the negative stuff, but they do it from they come from a foundation of reasoning. They don't come from just out of left field with a lot of this stuff. They can explain to you why they're being negative. They need to study Superman and Lois. Absolutely agree. The villains need to get a hold of the Krakoa cloning device. Yeah. But yeah, I saw where James Gunn's actively working on trailer number 2. The crypto stuff doesn't do anything for me, man. I feel like that's just feels like bait more than it feels like content. I don't know. I did like seeing the All-Star Superman robots. The Fortress looked cool. I'm still concerned with the amount of characters in it. All the little feedback things, like it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be great. Superman is not Guardians of the Galaxy. The tone, the feel, the balance of humor and stuff, that's not Superman. Superman's stoic. He's hopeful. It's a different feel. I've said it from day one. He can't just do Guardians of the Galaxy and put a Superman S on it. That ain't it. For him to take on Superman, we're gonna have to see something from James Gunn. He hadn't shown this before, and I'm excited to see it. I still am. Whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. I'm still excited to see it for myself. Definitely nervous about it. I know that at least one time I watch it in theaters is going to be awesome. I'll be on St. Simon's Island the week after it comes out. I got to double check, but I think that I'll be there. I think I'm leaving Like the movie will premiere on a Thursday, and then Friday morning I'll end up leaving for the island. So that means Jurassic Park and Superman will be out. Fantastic Four won't come out till I get right before I get back. So I'll end up watching Superman or Jurassic World while we're on the island. We always try to go to the little theater there as a family and watch a movie. Yeah, I hope Superman's amazing. Some of the visuals look really, really cool, like watching Superman fly by the window and Lex turn around. And that new footage we got, you actually hear what Lex is saying on the phone. He says he's back. Kind of curious how we're going to do this. So have y'all thought about how many characters they're stuffing in this movie? You know, you got like Superman, Lois, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, Lex Luthor, Cat Grant, Steve. You have the whole Daily Planet stuff. I wonder if they put Bibbo in there somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised. But outside of that, we got Simon Stagg, Metamorpho, Hawk Girl, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific. I think they're supposed to have Maxwell Lord in there. Like, it's just, I'm trying to understand how launching a universe and trying to flagship Superman, how it's beneficial to have so many characters. I get the idea of like putting him in a world that already exists. It's not an origin. None of that means anything. That you don't have to put him in a world where he already exists. It's not an origin plus 5,000 other things. So it's going to be a lot to balance. Ultraman's in there. Crypto's a character himself. So I don't know. Seen that footage of Crypto just hopping around on him while he's hurt. And so I don't know. It didn't do much for me. AR said those 4 minutes are awesome. I'm so hyped. Yeah, there's just Crypto hopping around. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Those robots were awesome. I did like how when Superman was hurt, getting carried in the fortress by the super bots, the new one, number 12 or whatever, introduced itself, and Superman, despite being beat up, it's like, he good to meet you. You know, he still had that nature. It's July 11th. It comes out, Jeremy. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because I'm so nervous for this to work. I think like there's just so much writing on it. And I'm a fanboy, man. I'm an absolute DC fanboy, and I want it to be good. It has to be a success. I don't know how big of a success it has to be, but I know it has to be a huge success. The rest of the DCU hinges on this movie being a massive success. We're still going to get Lanterns no matter what. We're still going to get Supergirl no matter what. But if this movie is like some kind of like shock flop that just doesn't do anything, that's going to change the entire trajectory of every. We saw what happened when they've done this before. You've seen when Marvel changes directions, just goes to crap. We saw when the Snyder era changed directions. Initially, back in the day, when that CW show Legends of Tomorrow was about to premiere, they did this 2-hour premiere event thing on the CW hosted by Kevin Smith, and they announced everything. It was like right before Batman v Superman, I believe. And they announced this entire rollout of a Flash movie, a Cyborg movie, a Wonder Woman movie, this, that, and the other. And then everything got like the negative feedback. The stuff happened with Zach's daughter, and they scrapped all of it. They scrapped all of it, changed directions, and the DCU became like just this hodgepodge attempt at getting something rolling that just didn't get the proper traction they wanted. Pop says, I think it should have been just Superman and his normal cast of supporting characters with one main villain. Yeah, like you got Lex, and Lex can give him something to fight, right? I do like that he's fighting a person, like having Ultraman in there. You know, the Superman Returns movie has got some really cool stuff to it. The plane save, the brief moments of him kind of flying, thinking, speaking with Jor-El, stuff like that. But ultimately, like didn't really feel like there was a big villain to it. He fought a giant rock. He fought like an island, basically at the end. You saw some cool feats, but Man of Steel fighting Zod, like that was, oh my god, that was next level. And one thing Snyder did great was showing you like the actual scale of destruction when super Kryptonians battle kind of thing. In the trailer for the new Superman, we see like the buildings tipping over like dominoes. We have that. So we'll see. We'll see that. I mean, that seems like literally comical. You know, that's something that you can picture in a comic, like a, oh no, the building's falling and it hits the next one and it just keeps going and they have to quickly discuss and figure out how to get ahead of it and stop the last building from falling so they all stay standing up. But that seemed to me like something straight out of a comic. So I don't know. I don't know. On a scale, how excited is everyone else based on the footage? And how many of y'all like read Superman stuff? Do y'all you just kind of watch the movies when they come out? Or I know Superman, like, despite being like the most iconic superhero ever, everything comes in phases. Everything has its ebbs and flows. I feel like the whole 2000 teens was the decade of the anti-heroes. Everyone thought anti-heroes were cool. They're like, oh, these are the heroes we need. Give me Punisher, give me Villain. Bunch of bad guys. They're putting a bunch of villains on pedestals and just call them anti-heroes. Yeah, right, Mike. Mark in a rocking chair is all I need. If he learns the banjo, the stream becomes unstoppable. I do not disagree. Alan says I read Absolute Superman. Oh, and hello. Absolute Superman is Chef's Kiss. Did everybody read? It's issue 6 that just came out this week, I believe. Holy potatoes. Man, what a tragic journey. That's one thing that I really love that they did in Absolute Superman. And I mentioned it, so much of Superman's origin is just assumed. Originally it's just a quick little telling of how he got here, and because it's so well known and understood, it's not like something that people revisit in depth all the time. And it has been a few times here and there, but they're getting to go into a lot of detail with Absolute Superman and that actual journey from getting in the rocket on Krypton to traveling across the cosmos to get to Earth. You think like he's just sleeping, he's in stasis, whatever. It's a long. This kid suffered the entire way, almost 2 years, almost in a rocket, wide awake, eating, sleeping, staring out a window at nothingness. Just, how crazy you would go in total isolation like that in small spaces. Like the fact that he still has his mind at all just shows you how super young Kal-El is in this Absolute line. That's, man, my heart broke for him in that. And then we got that little Smallville stuff. We get to see what this Superman's little introduction to Earth was. It's the first time we're visiting Smallville in the Absolute world. Jeremy says Absolute Superman was fire. He said I didn't watch the sneak peek, but I'm stoked. I read the Superman series. He's my youngest son's favorite. You got one good kid then. You got one good kid, Jeremy. The sneak peek isn't like, it's a sneak peek, but there's nothing spoilery about it, man. The actual trailer that you've already seen, the teaser trailer, imagine if there's just a little bit more footage with the crypto part. That's all, like the crypto part with him telling, take me home. There's just a little bit more cut in there where he pulls up to the fortress and the little robots that you see in the trailer carry him inside and put him on the table and open the window so some sunlight can shine on him. And it's a lot of quiet moments, him just sitting there. It's about 30, takes like 37 seconds for Crypto to actually run across the ice to him. So there's not really a lot of new footage. Just the footage you've seen, you just linger on. And once it does all that lingering, then it just cuts to the regular trailer that you've seen. So if you're worried about spoilers, or it's really not in there. Good morning, Brother John. Good to see you in here. That's what happened to Brightburn. Yeah, Brightburn, man. Yeah, that was something. That was something. He was ready to give up and die. Good morning, Kev. Good morning. Looks like we got the next customer coming out. This is how my day's going to go today for the most part. Just making sure my staff work properly, or if it gets crazy, making sure that I step in, trying to let them work there. Good morning. I was switching gears. The new Naked Gun teaser is, in my opinion, absolutely effing hilarious. I haven't laughed at a trailer in years. Check it out. Liam Neeson is just priceless. Yeah, I watched it. I remember the Naked Gun movies, the first one more than the second one, but they were hilarious. Leslie Nielsen was a national treasure. It looked like Liam really captures the essence. I was wondering how they're going to do this. How's this going to work at all? And I started watching the trailer, and that didn't. My mind didn't change. Oh my gosh! You need a hand?
No.
All right. The part that I think got me the most is when they showed him sitting there speaking to the picture of his dad. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. And then the part where I actually laughed is when they cut to the picture of O.J. Simpson. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. I hope that it's got, what's his name, Seth MacFarlane. He's attached to it, so I'm hoping that it has a real sense of like witty, almost like South Park level humor. You know what I mean? Where they really have their finger on the pulse of what's relevant right now. If they can pull that off, I think they could have something here. Good morning, Sir Robert.
Oh, is it?
It is. We're talking about the Naked Gun trailer, so it is.
Oh, I say that's good. I like
Yeah.
that trailer. I liked that trailer.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if I'd call it a trailer as much as it was just more of a teaser. But
Well, that's what a proper trailer is, right?
well, yeah. But I'm just not taking duration and length.
Now you're
But
just being vulgar.
well, so sometimes you can't help yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
saying that I was wondering how it was going to work, you know. And then at the end, they did the little thing where he was looking at the picture of his dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I actually chuckled when you got to O.J. Simpson.
Right. Everybody at their altars of their fathers.
Yeah, there were so many of them.
It's
Everybody on the
we're
force.
all yeah. It's like literally like your own next generation. The when I saw it was funny is like at first when I heard him say, dad, I know it was really setting up for that OJ joke, but ultimately the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh my god, they got Leslie Nielsen to be the son of or sorry, they got Liam Neeson to be the son of Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, it's a little bit meta.
Yeah, I was like, let's just the naming conventions there was just kind of a little play on it almost. It's like, oh,
So how was WonderCon, man?
it was good. It was good to hang out with a bunch of folks and meet a lot of the community members and of course the club members, and got a bigger haul than I thought. Oh, was when I got home. I'm like, oh my god, actually, even during the hotel, I guess in the hotel, I kind of knew what I was trying to pack it all to get it down out of the hotel room back to my car. I kind of knew it was a bit of a pile, but so yeah. I mean, yesterday,
I saw you posted the part 1 video. I'm like, oh no, there's parts to this.
just two parts. Yeah,
Part 2 just the B-roll stuff, or you have more
no,
haul in part 2?
part 2 will be some B-roll, but it'll be the all the books that I picked up for my PC outside of Artist Alley. So the part 1 was Artist Alley and the exclusives, and a few books that I picked up for the giveaway bin.
Were you able to accomplish your spawn goal? Was this that convention where you were sent on an errand?
Yeah, I had to. I picked up. That was part of yesterday's thing with the exclusives. Was the wraparound Spawn book that Durs and Austin and Mad Spidey all requested. and managed to get one extra copy for Comic Screen Cancer. So that's good. They were selling for at least on the con. Obviously it'll taper off in the coming weeks as everybody that was picked up copies just to sell them does so, because the books were $44 a piece.
What an odd number.
It really was, and that was for unsigned, and you could get up to 5 of them.
Who did the art?
I don't remember.
Never mind. Never mind.
Not Todd. How's that?
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, you could get 2 copies that were signed by pre-signed by Todd, or you could get 5 copies that were unsigned.
AR's comment's amazing. I'm rolling my eyes at Mark expressing concern over the Superman movie. Then I get the news there's a new Naked Gun and immediately becomes concerned about protecting the legacy. Yeah. Yeah, and I understand people that don't understand my concern, and I don't judge people for their concern. It's like that. Like, that's why Star Wars has so much kickback. That's why the MCU has so much kickback. And then there's me, who I'm a die-hard cheerleader for the Michael Bay Transformers. So I get both sides of it. Like, I know I'm against the legacy fans on that one. But one thing I have a hard time doing is trying to tell them that I'm right. Like, I'm just saying that I like it. That's all. I like this stuff.
You're able to sit there and be different. I think there's a difference between saying that something looks good or whatever else and saying, hey, you know what? I like it. It appeals to me. I understand it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but for some reason, there's something that primarily excites me.
It was like when I say I like Transformers the Last Night and I mentioned Hot Rod, people cringe. He had like that weird like Italian accent, and he just shot the little time bubbles and I stop at the time. And Hot Rod is like this iconic, important Transformer that should be treated with reverence and rolled out like a big deal. And they just turn him into a side character with a goofy accent for one little purpose in the final fight moment. So I get people not liking that. That makes perfect sense. But I love saying I stop at a time. And I thought he was hilarious. Like what they did with Wheeljack. It's like, that's not Wheeljack. He has to have the ears. I'm like, the ears? And then I started reading Transformer comics. I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely should have had the ears. It's not Wheeljack without the ears. It's just not. It's another Transformer you're calling him Wheeljack.
Yeah. But
yeah, I saw CinemaCon did the Tron stuff, and they did like the Disney stuff yesterday. Avatar Fire and Ice got its proper, I guess we call it a trade dress. It got its marketing trade dress, the actual official title font, whatever. Spoiler alert, it's papyrus. But yeah, I haven't watched any of the Tron footage yet. I'm very excited for that. I did see where Jeff Bridges and Jared Leto came out on stage and together and everything. I'm happy Jeff Bridges is back. I'm wondering in what capacity he's going to be back. I'm thinking he's going to be some kind of like grid god, and that's going to be interesting. I argue with him because Rob doesn't deserve your sympathy.
Oh, this yesterday. I didn't care for the Superman trailer, and so after I made my statement, Burke just goes,
I love you, Rob.
Yeah, and I was like, oh.
And you said I do too.
No, that's a ditto.
Yeah. The Superman trailer. I'm still excited to see it. That sneak peek at Crypto being a menace didn't do anything for me. Hot Rod is Rodimus Prime, right? Eventually, yes. Yeah, but not in the Bayverse. He's just a random Autobot with an Italian accent that stop at the time. Killing Jazz. Pieces I need. Pieces. How about both? Yeah, it was. The Bayverse was wild. I loved it. Should have been 4468. Yeah, exactly, Jeremy.
Ooh. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jeremy says he loves the Bay Transformers. Most of the people, I'm finding out, Well, I'm not finding out. I've known this. Most of the people that love the Bay Transformer stuff did not grow up watching the Transformers cartoon as children. They did not collect the toys. They did not read the Marvel comics run in the 80s. They found Transformers later. Same thing with the people that defend the current MCU. They didn't grow up with this stuff. They haven't been reading it for years. They arrived with the current MCU, and that's fine. You're more than welcome to like it, but pretending like the people's criticisms are not valid is insane. And I promise everybody that if these studios listen to a lot of these criticisms, not the blowhards, not the rage baiters, but the honest criticism and fought to improve their product based on that honest criticism, everybody would win. The new fans that think what they're watching is great, if they saw what could be done, they'd be even more happy. New Naked Gun trailer looks funny. For me, Superman was the Warakist trailer. What is that word, Rob? That Mike dropped? Warakist? Evil Mike says, for me, Superman was the Warakist trailer. Maybe it meant to say weakest.
I don't know.
It's right above. It was right above.
Weakest. He says, yeah, he's saying weakest, but I'm trying to see where you just. Oh, up there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on this phone, so I don't know how far back I am.
Yeah, it was an extended scene. It was mostly an extended scene from what was seen, and that's true. I didn't care for it, but that's just because the extended scene they chose to do. I guess I understand the concept was to showcase crypto because crypto got such a reaction that last time. But instead, what I ended up, what I'm going is like, okay, here's something for Superman, right? And instead, what I have is a less than Superman who's been beat to crap throughout. And most of the trailer is him just like, I can barely move and stuff. And I'm like, and then it's like, oh, and here's all these other people are going to be in there. So it's like, okay, well, great. I can get my ass kicked and have to need my friends. That's not fucking Superman.
That's not Superman.
And so I'm not saying that Superman has to do everything alone and everything else, and that he shouldn't take damage, everything else. But I mean,
it's odd messaging.
There was just nothing. There was nothing there of like Superman. I mean, yeah, okay, he's getting the sun, and even the sun hurts. There's nothing about him.
I think what hurt was his bones popping back into place and his lung closing up back up. But I feel what you're saying though. Like with this weird, like I've criticized this marketing for this movie from the beginning. Like you probably might remember from being a youngster when the Christopher Reeve Superman stuff was coming out. The first shot was him like standing in an iconic pose with the New York backdrop, an American flag, the music, him saying like these little encouraging words and taking flight. It was iconic. It was like uplifting. It was aspiring. And same thing with the Zack Snyder stuff, the darker, brooding Superman. It was these shots of just pure hopeful aspiration, like this heroic look. And all we've seen from this Superman is him bleeding on the ground. Like, like no one's convinced that Superman loses in the end. So why are we doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. The idea is, oh, look, we got a really big adversary.
Steve said my dog puked on the carpet 3 times the other day. I can't imagine him with superpowers.
Right, yeah. Mine had to go to the bathroom 3 times last night. Same thing, man. It's like
Jeremy, you'd read from his issue 1. It's an ongoing. You start with issue 1. Kind of kicks off with like the introduction of the trench. Or you could tune in Tuesdays at 2 p.m. for my new DC Day and potentially win collected volumes of Jeff Johns Aquaman 1. It's part of the extra prize stuff that's on the prize wheel.
So how is it there at the old Cracker Barrel?
It's still early, so we've already had about 5 people drop off. It's not off day, so I'm trying to just like chill and let the staff do what the staff do. And once we get more than 1 or 2 customers here at the same time, which will happen typically right at 12, because if you drop off after noon, I don't charge you for your drop off day. So we have the people that do business with us regularly know that. So they all like, all right, it's 11:50. Pull up at 11:59. We'll be fine. So like, they're ready to get moving, but they don't want that extra charge, especially if you have like multiple pets. You know, some people are coming with 3 dogs or dogs and cats and stuff. So you might be getting charged like upwards of $100 a day kind of thing.
Dogs and cats living together, living in sin.
Yeah, I got customers with multiple dogs that can't even live together, and they tell me they have their houses sectioned off, like with like baby gates or something, you know, where dogs can't
Oh
get
my
to each
God.
other.
What
Couldn't
the?
live like that.
That's not a pack.
No. Yeah, I thought it was great. Oh, shit. Well, now you're gonna make me stop working to catch you live. Well, I've been telling you that, Jeremy. You just take your lunch break then. Houseville said, I thought it was. Every time I go to do this, this thing jumps.
Sorry.
Thought it was great because it showed the fortress. It was Superman. I would have been this movie because I think. God damn you, Rob.
It's been
I
one of the
can't.
greatest Superman movies since 1978. Based on what is my question? I mean, it's great to be optimistic that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to be great from
Hopeful.
there. Which the question is based on what though?
First off, Superman the movie is the best one of the Christopher Reeve movies. So outside of that, you're really only comparing it to 2 other Superman movies: Superman Returns and Man of Steel.
Can't you compare it to Superman 2?
No, I said the 78 was the best of the Christopher Reeve ones already. So you're really just comparing it against Brandon Routh's one movie and Henry Cavill's one movie. But even though Batman v Superman was technically Man of Steel 2, just, you know, it had a different name.
Yeah. I don't dislike the Brandon Routh movie at all.
No, me neither. It doesn't necessarily have that X factor, but it's got a lot of cool moments in it.
Yeah.
He does a lot of good stuff. The script was a little bland, but that plane catch is God. I've rewatched that multiple times a year. That plane catch was next level.
I loved it, you know, the way that they did, you know, to make it sort of like it, you know, a continuation.
Yeah, it's technically Superman 3 in the timeline. They got rid of Superman 3 and 4 and did Superman Returns.
Which is great. And I love I love that Lex is still all about, I want some real estate.
Yeah, he's a landman, Rob.
Exactly.
He's a landman.
Real estate. They're not making any more of it.
Yeah. What is it? Kingdoms rise and fall. Emperors come and go, but land is forever, and they're not making any more of it.
Oh.
You remember how critical people were about Batman v Superman having too many characters, and you didn't introduce these characters to us before you put them together, and how even Black Adam. I remember vividly when Black Adam came out, how much criticism it got because we don't know who these JSA characters are. Who are these other heroes? We didn't.
I think it's a common thing anytime you start introducing too many characters to sit there, and now you become, because you don't have the time to do the exposition on all these characters, you end up then relying on people to have some knowledge from outside the movie. And that's fine for people who have that knowledge. But
Mhm.
for people that, if you're just trying to sit there and say, okay, here's a movie for movie's sake, and it can stand alone with outside of any outside property, it becomes not possible to introduce that many different characters without giving them some sort of, well, actually, let me refer. I guess that's not entirely true. I shouldn't say. That's a. You know what? I walk back my statement
Okay,
because
backpedal away.
movies do that all the time. We don't get character exposition all the time. Although, you know, the question is it the same thing introducing just some regular cop character in a movie like Die Hard or something? Then you need to know their origin story or whatever, how they became a police officer and stuff, versus just accepting the fact that they are a police officer, move on.
Mhm.
Or does it matter differently for superheroes?
Yeah, where I was going with it is like everybody forgot how much they didn't enjoy that. You know, they don't for years they don't like too many characters in a movie. Spider-Man 3 is overbloated with villains, and BVS was overbloated with heroes, and Black Adam didn't let us get to know the JSA good enough. Oh, Superman looks great. I love that we have so many characters. We need more. Put more in there. It's going to be all. I don't understand the inconsistency with
Oh,
that.
no, the number of characters scares me. I mean, in fact, especially for if this is going to be your launching of Superman. I mean, I get it if they were like showing up. Maybe if it maybe depending on how it's done, right? I mean, if it's just there's all of a sudden out of towards the end or something to come up, and then you're going to use that as your key kickoff for a connected universe.
I'm assuming they're going to be introduced toward the beginning. Like the way I think that this is going to go is like Superman saving some people. It's our introduction, blah, blah, blah. See his daily life. Lex sends a kaiju out on the city. Superman's trying to fight it without killing it. He's getting beat up a little bit, and then the Terrifics come in and they take it out no problem, and everyone loves them for doing it. And Superman's sad that they killed this creature. Despite it being created, he feels like it has a soul and they don't, blah, blah, blah. They have their back and forth, their disagreements. They call him old and antiquated. And Lex creates Ultraman and sends Ultraman out on the city, and the Terrifics try to stop Ultraman, and they get their butts kicked, and Superman has to come in and gets his butt kicked as well. And then he flies back to the fortress where he does all that little healing after getting his butt kicked from Ultraman. And then at the end, Lex introduces his next big scheme, and it's your big floating purple thing in the sky. They're all fighting where the Terrifics and Superman come together like butt cheeks and work together to stop it, putting aside their differences of their traditional values and ways of doing superheroing and this new school trendy way of doing it. They're going to bastardize Kingdom Come is what I'm telling you.
We'll see. I don't know.
Neither do I, but I'm just speculating. Good morning. How are you today? Good.
I mean, that's the one thing that fortunately for me is like, I guess I don't know as deep in the lore. So sometimes it's good because you can be removed from it and you can, it's just like the same thing that happened, I think, with some of the Iron Man movie or some of the early Marvel movies is that the character selection that they used at first, it was like, okay, well, I know of these characters and I have basic understanding of them, but I wasn't a reader of these characters. So it made it a lot easier to not be, so vested in a particular lore set that you could just enjoy the movie.
Yeah, you don't have like your mind's eye of who these people are. Again, that's why the Bayverse Transformer stuff works so well for me. That set my mind's representation of these characters from watching them. It wasn't preset before I went in. That's where it's going to be difficult with Superman, where this is not Guardians of the Galaxy. You can't just make Guardians of the Galaxy and slap an S on it. Like, you got to do something different. This guy, everyone on the planet has like their own vision of who Superman is. And everyone's vision's a little bit different. But if you took all of our ideas of who Superman is and put it out on the table, there'd be more overlap than not. You know, he's a pretty consistent character for most people with minor differences. And hopefully this captures it. I think ultimately what I'm hoping is that, you know, when I go to the theater, I'm going to be nervous because I want it to be good. I want this universe to succeed. And I'm hoping when I come out, I'm just going to be happy as hell.
I'm hoping there's a happiness, but a level of critique that comes out that shows it.
Burke says that's not how I see it happening. Can you highlight that comment so I can go back and screenshot it and then share it again in a couple of months? Because only one of two things can happen, Steve.
That he's right or he's wrong.
I can be right or you can be wrong. We're going to figure out which one it is.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Good morning, Cliff. Good to see you in here. Good morning, Vogsy. Alan said, I think DC should do just shows on Max. Marvel needs to take note on how to do shows because DC slams Marvel on that side. Yeah, well, if you look at their output, I mean, that's the ultimate difference, right? We get like one DC show every year or two. It might speed up a little bit. We're getting Peacemaker this year. I guess we're getting Lanterns will start at the end of the year. Peacemaker's in August, but I'm sure if Warner Brothers was in a place to do the output Marvel is doing, they would too. You know. Have a good day.
Thank you, too.
There would definitely be a decline in quality if any studio does that kind of output. And ultimately, too, like it's a different studio. Who the house employees for HBO are next level. The same people that are set designing and costume designing and stuff like that for The Last of Us are working on Lanterns. So you already know like the talent that's going into that aspect of it. It's gonna be really good. I'm very excited for Lanterns. That's ones that I have no reservations about, other than Sinestro being old. I don't want to see DC fall into the same villain problem that Marvel has, that the previous DC has before this, where we're just one-offing villains.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it tends to be a fairly frequent thing. I think they've had this feel like this concept that, oh, in order to beat a villain, you have to like take him off the table.
Yeah.
Um,
They broke that mold with Jim Carrey. I remember being a kid with Batman Forever coming out, and had seen the Joker die, watched Penguin die, and now like one of my favorite actors in my childhood, Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura himself, is playing the Riddler. I was legitimately scared to see the movie because I didn't want him to die, and he's the villain. And luckily, they killed Two-Face and just deformed the Riddler, so he made it. He made it. I was so happy about that.
yeah, but it was it was a thing, and I understand though. It was a thing for the time in those movies with each sequel that they did add just another
Yeah.
villain every single time. It's like, okay, you get to number 2, you're gonna have 2 villains. You get to number 3, you're gonna
We
have
had
like
two
3.
in number 3, but we did up the ante in number 4 with Batman and Robin. You had Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and they threw Bane in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they always just
Bane.
Less is
overkill.
more.
And it wasn't just DC. Marvel was just as guilty of it too.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, with Spider-Man, when we got to Spider-Man 3, we had technically 2.5 villains, I guess. Harry, the old turncoat.
Mm-hmm. Well, Harry was a straight up villain in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
That was probably the hat.
Well, I was thinking because Harry like had the change of heart, and dude, I cannot tell you how cool it was. I know Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of flack, but it's easily the most rewatchable out of the Tobey Maguire era, just because of how fast paced it is and how much action there is in it. There's a lot of cool scenes with the tower save, the fight in the subway, the fight at the end, watching Harry on the glider and Spider-Man working together, like webbing the board and pulling themselves off and grabbing each other. Like that was just so cool, man.
Spider-Man was really 2 different movies mashed up into one. The whole Venom story.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, if you get rid of the whole Venom story in Spider-Man 3, then you have a solid movie, because the Sandman story, even the Harry story, especially when Harry was like downright just evil, what he was doing to MJ. He's with MJ, he's like looking in the coffee fight, like
that whole meme. Yeah.
So yeah, they had the studios pushed Venom into the story, in which Sam Raimi, being an old school guy, he wasn't really into Venom, so he did Venom the way he thought Venom should have been portrayed. And
I don't think Venom was portrayed bad. It was just like there's nothing. What was wrong with the character in it? Like, I mean, it was just not like it.
It
was
should,
just the only thing really wrong with him was he was a side character. That was about
right,
it.
that he was there. I mean, because it should have been black costume throughout the whole thing. The movie end scene is towards the end is the bell tower.
Yeah, when he growls at the camera.
And
that should have been an after credit scene. That'd been epic.
Yeah.
Right. everybody be like, "Oh."
But I'm saying like the portrayal of Venom. I mean, Topher Grace isn't a bodybuilder like Eddie Brock was in the comics, but neither is Tom Hardy. I mean, we at this point we're used to our superhero actors not being bodybuilders. You know, they make up for it in other areas to fill out the role. But Topher Grace had the attitude, right?
Topher Grace was being the anti-Peter, and I think that was the approach he was taking, where he was like, "This is where Peter would be if he didn't have the same morals," or you know. And I'm sorry, I like Topher as a person. Like I like his act.
Go to hell, Louis.
But
Go to hell.
Louis saying that
too soon. Too soon.
So Rob, what are you doing with your Venom Mary Jane comic? You keeping it? Because mine is already up for sale.
Is it worth anything? No.
Yeah, that's why it's up for sale.
Oh, really? I don't know.
So I literally purchased it just so I could resell it.
You see, I don't do that shit usually.
Sometimes I do that for certain books. I will do that because there's enough buzz out there that people are gonna buy it, and I'm getting double for what I paid for it. So
that would implies that it actually is sold.
It's in the bidding war, so pretty much it is sold.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know. I did remove it from the poly bag, so
no, I left it in the poly bag. I just said that I bought it. I bought it from Josh. I got it for like really next to nothing. And I said, you know, I was straight up with him. I was like, I'm reselling this just so I can make my money back for buying these books. Somebody wants it. So, Mark, I know you saw it. That Superman scene was not the scene I was waiting to see. I like the robots, but the crypto scene, I don't think we need it.
Yeah, that dog is a menace.
That dog was like my cat, man. That's what my cat does in the morning.
Yeah, I would have, dude. It didn't bother me to begin with, but at this point, I really wish we had like a traditional looking crypto.
Well, I like the dog. I
don't dislike the dog. I wish we had a traditional looking crypto at this point.
It was. I don't think it was the scene people were looking forward to seeing. Oh, the Fantastic Four trailer's out in 26 minutes, or do you mean 26 minutes till the launch of the 1 hour wait for the trailer to
for the 1 hour wait of the 3 hour panel event before the trailer? The trailer that'll immediately follow staring at the chairs of the panelists.
That apparently Sebastian Stan and David Harbour never got.
Yeah, what is like now that we're past Wednesday? This was leaked last week. Mm-hmm. What is with the stupid Mary Jane new Venom thing, Rob?
Idiots. They're just. I think it's Marvel publishers doubling down on. Fuck you, readers. We know you want Peter and MJ back, but we're going to show you that we know better than you, and we're not going to give you anything that you ever want. Because MJ being Venom makes zero sense whatsoever, given her past experiences with the symbiote.
They don't get it, and I can't remember what creator it was that took to a Substack and told readers to stop buying the comics if you don't like it. We're not putting MJ and Peter back together, which is crazy to say. But Mary Jane is not a character. I don't care what anyone says. Mary Jane is only Peter's girlfriend. That's what she is. Peter's wife, Peter's girl. That's the only purpose she serves. She
served in the days of their marriage. Mm-hmm. She served as the anchor that no matter what else went wrong, everything that he had to go through, no matter how far to the edge he got pushed, that she was his anchor back that kept him being, other than Uncle Ben, and I got to do right by them, was the one person that he could dump everything. She
Mhm.
took everything that he had and allowed him to dump that and continue on and be the superhero and encourage him when he wants to give it all up.
Like a proper spouse or partner in a relationship
Yeah,
does for one
she was
another.
a supportive wife that, though she didn't really want him to do the things he did, she knew he couldn't not do it. Like, she never really truly stopped him from doing it, even though she wished he would. But she knew that, the great power responsibility. She got it. And even more so than Gwen, because Gwen was not really too fond of Spidey because of Ken Stacy. But in Mary Jane's case, it's like she's the wife you want to have, and she's hot while you're at it. So it always gave him a reason to go home.
Yeah, it's just crazy that the people at Marvel are so dead set on detaching themselves from reality, attacking the readers. They're Marvel hates their readers. This has been true for a long time now, and they make it very apparent when they so much as say it. They just say it directly. If you don't like what we're doing, don't buy our comics.
Yeah, well,
We don't
I
care.
can't wait to see how the Venom numbers, sales numbers, go now after this. Okay, you've revealed it, and you revealed probably the worst possible candidate for this possible.
Not possibly the worst, because people didn't want Paul to be the guy. Everybody was like, don't let it be Paul. Well, you got your wish. It's not Paul. But now people are begging that it was Paul. The reality of it is you're going to get a sales bump because it's going to happen. And you're going to get a sales bump for issue 6 because it's the cover of Face It Tiger. You hit the jackpot, right? After issue 6, that's when I believe that book is going to dip and it's going to eventually get canceled.
Dip, I think, is going to tank.
It most likely will be attacked, but there's always going to be some people buying it because the sales figures of this one is going to be they're going to be insane.
I think it's straight honest at this point that this is not this cannot possibly be any kind of long-term ploy.
They'll fight tooth and nail to make it long term because that's what they do.
This is a short-term gimmick thing, and then it's just a matter of, do we even make it to issue 10 before Venom is back on either one of the the Dylan or somebody else.
1000%, Steve. Been saying it. So many new readers in the past decade got introduced to comics through the MCU. So they go into shops, pick up what they saw on the screen, read their first few comics, and assume they're reading quality. Like, why else would it be printed and sold if it's not good? And
it's a reactive buy. I get that.
Yeah, everyone has their own introduction into comics. You go to a store and you buy what's familiar to you or what stands out. That's why so many people, whether you start with Marvel or start with DC, these days, so many people, after they've been reading a while, they finally buy their first indie book and they're like, wow, this is different. This is, whoa. And indies are doing so well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the DC's in a good place right now. Really, really good place. Quality storytelling, continuity, editorial. But that doesn't mean like they still like won back the good graces of the general public or have that same spike that they've had here and throughout the past, the ups and downs. Indies are just dominating.
So
respectively for their size.
Yeah. So for a very long time, movies were dictated by the stories that were created that everybody loved. Today, it's become the exact opposite, where the movies are dictating whatever's going to be in the comic books. On both, more so on Marvel, because DC hasn't got to that realm yet. Unfortunately, it might.
You see it in some things, like Peacemaker is typically drawn like John Cena. The character is kind of shifted a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But at least with that, they kind of like contain that part a little bit. If you think about
it's just a one character kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little containment.
But if the DCU is an insanely massive hit and takes off, I'd expect to see the same thing. The tones of the characters in the book shift a bit.
Especially with a company like Discover Warner, which really don't know anything.
Nothing.
They know nothing. They know how to build houses.
Nothing. Discover Warner. Hey, I'm gonna hop off here for a second. I gotta put my phone on the charger. It's about to die.
Nice.
Huh?
The day looks nice.
It's completely overcast. There's not a sky in the cloud.
trying to remember. It's just
Not a sky in the cloud.
Yeah. I'm gonna put this on the charger and do a walkthrough and check on all these dogs and cats they've got here, and I'll be back on in a few minutes.
trying to think what was the.
Mhm.
I don't know. My brain is still in a fog. I woke up late this morning, so it's like
Yeah,
There
I've been
was-
dealing with gout lately again. So
Mm.
I was in bed. I got up like around 7:30 over here. So right when you guys went on, I got up and I was like, let me have some breakfast. That my breakfast, and it's a long work day. There's a lot of stuff, and tonight I got a show, so I got to prepare for that. In fact, I gotta do the stream. I'm gonna do it right now while we're at it. So for that show, which I always love doing the monthly show. So yeah.
the God, man. Ooh. I don't know the week of what else has been going on this week. Jesus, these trailers just took over everything all of a sudden.
Naked Gun.
Yeah,
That's what I gotta say. I am seeing that movie.
you know what? At the end of the day, I never expect a lot from any of that type of movie, as far as but other than just dumb comedy,
Yeah.
and I'm all in for some dumb comedy that I can go in and say, hey, look, I know for a fact this may not even be a good movie, but I'm gonna laugh.
I'm banking that it's a bad movie because that's what makes it a great movie. Because Naked Gun movies, the story behind the Naked Gun movies are just plain stupidity.
It's
But
ludicrous
it's
positions,
just
yeah.
Leslie Nielsen. I have to admit, seeing O.J. Simpson doing stupid things, going through stupid things, and the way they addressed O.J. in this little clip was perfect. And I like that it's Liam Nielsen. You know what I mean? It's like he is a good jackrabbit, and the fact that he's gonna be his son is even better.
You know, it was funny is like because I didn't know at first.
Yeah, Brian, exactly.
Live action Looney Tunes. Yeah, at first when I saw, obviously I didn't know what it was when I saw it. I didn't because I don't think I didn't click. I can't remember where.
You didn't see the description.
Yeah, and so it was just all of a sudden the little girl in the mask and him come up and then I saw Seth MacFarlane's name or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I know Seth is doing something weird here with Liam again. Because he had him in 1,000 Ways to Die in the West and whatever. And then it went when it went the rest of the way. I was like, oh.
But it was graphic too. The way he cut that guy up, and you see that little splash of blood, like that spray of blood. I was like, "What is that?"
Modern edge to it, and I like the. In my mind, it was they're doing all the father son scenes. It was in my mind, the connection of Liam Neeson and Leslie Nielsen just jumped in my head. It was like, oh, that's just too good as a secondary.
They picked a good guy because he fits the mold of what the same way Leslie Nielsen would fit the mold, right? Where the original intent of Leslie Nielsen was that he was supposed to be a drama actor, and then when Airplane came, everybody saw something in him that no one really saw, and then you had the police. A lot of people forget that Naked Gun comes from the TV show Police Squad,
right?
Which is great. If anybody hasn't seen, Police Squad, go check it out. It is one of the funniest things in the world to go watch. That it was short lived. I don't think it lasted that many seasons. If anything, if it had maybe 2 seasons or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so good, so funny. And then you had the Naked Gun movies, because a lot of people recognize the Naked Gun movies, but they forget it's really Police Squad from the files of Police Squad. Right.
Well, there was those over the top parodies of just, and that's exactly what Brian's saying, right? You got to lean into this humor stuff. It's the pure lunacy and puns galore and visual sight gags and just the absurd. That's what makes those great, right? All those movies, that whole genre that unfortunately that genre was hijacked by the not another movie genre.
Yeah, the scary movies, guys, and stuff like that.
All those things. And those were, they serve whatever purpose they serve, but at the end of the day, they're not the same thing as these types of movies, even though they are the same type of movie, because Airplane in itself was a mock. It was
a mock.
basically a riff on all the disaster movies that were going on in the 70s,
Mhm.
right? So it's a product of its time. It's similar, but I don't know. They just never did it quite the same way.
Yeah,
in my
so
opinion.
Airplane was one of the first to do it. Then obviously we had Naked Gun, and let's not forget Hot Shots was the other one. And then you ended up having like the Scary Movie and Not Another Teenage Movie. And when it came to those spoof movies, they were just spoofing for the sake of having something on film. There was
You don't forget, you gotta, if you're forgetting,
there was no heart to it.
The old Get Smart stuff too.
Oh yeah, Get Smart was great.
Parodying all the spy genre stuff. And
yeah, so when they were doing it with more like a love letter than a spoof. You know what I mean? It was a love letter parody of it.
Right.
Where these other movies were just making fun of it.
An homage, to use a comic term, right?
Yes, an homage. And that's what killed it. It literally killed it. Because after we got those movies, there was none of those that came out. So I hope that with this one, which made sense, because again, the comedy has to be subtle. It has to be stupid, but it has to be subtle.
I'm gonna Get You, Sucker. Yeah,
those are great. I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker is a great movie.
Yeah, no, it's a difference between playing an homage versus, I think what Brian said. Yeah, the Wayans brothers ones, their ones were kind of like just a series of just how can we take this and just make a shit ton of jokes,
money out of it, and they didn't make any money out of it either.
Forget about even making, whether you want to say everything. At the end of the day, when you go to make a movie, most of the time your goal is to try to make some money out of it. Yeah. Granted, you may be an artiste and have a story, but let's not this genre. this genre is you're trying to make some money. Period. So that's fair, but it's a, whether you do it as an homage or whether you're just doing, okay, let's mine so much movies for something that we can make a joke out of. That's.
I'm looking forward to it. They got me.
I concur.
I was not looking forward to it when I first heard about it. I was like, oh no. And then when I saw that trailer, you got me. Dolomite, Booty Tang, Cow Pung is. I only seen clips of Cow Pung, but my wife actually saw the whole movie and she loves it. It's Galaxy Quest. I think it's original. It was marketed like a spoof movie, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's movies that play riffs on certain things versus being the full blown. Because you could take They Still Call Me Bruce, and stuff like that, or They Call Me Bruce. Those they have elements in it, but that's not what the movie is in its own right type stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think the marketing around Galaxy Quest was exactly that.
Yeah, he didn't say it was a spoof. He said it was the best Star Trek movie ever. Just like you can sit there and say that whatever the hell Seth MacFarlane's show was.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one.
Is one of the best damn freaking Star Trek series. Well, especially once you get past season 1.
Wasn't that supposed to be the same thing too, like a spoof style?
Well, so it was two different things. So, and this is why you have such a big change, of course, between season 1 and the tones of season 1 versus season 2, is that Seth wanted to do Star Trek. They wouldn't. He's a big Star Trek fan. Yeah. They wouldn't let him do it. So he thought, okay, I'll do my own. And then when he went to Fox and Fox originally greenlit it, they saw Seth and they thought all their comedy stuff that they were doing to him, all the animation stuff, that this is what we're going to get is a comedy thing. And so they pushed him to make it more comedy than space adventure, where he wanted to do it a little more balanced. So then once he goes then you get this tonal shift in season 2 where he gets to, okay, we got past season 1, I can start to do it myself, and you see that shift change more to more of a space adventure with some lighthearted comedy throughout it, and then you get season 3, which of course,
Orville, thank you.
yeah,
That's the name of the show.
huh?
No, it's called the Orville.
Orville,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I don't think Orville started as, but it became much more serious. Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, that's exactly it. It was a battle. I've seen him talk about it where he, it was like trying to deliver what Fox's expectation of it was, and made it more a comedy at the beginning than it was originally intended for. But I leave for 1 second. We start Star Trek stuff.
I'm not the guy to talk about Star Trek, unfortunately.
Well, more indirectly, but yeah.
I'm more of a. I watched Star Trek as a kid, but that was about it.
Oh, I still watch it to this day, but at the end of the day, I don't consider. It's funny. It's like I consider myself a Star Wars fan first and foremost, but Star Trek. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've missed very little Star Trek in reality at this point. I think of what's been from a TV and movie perspective, I should say. I know that there's a lot of extra lore out there, which I don't go digging on and stuff. But I'm trying to think. I don't know that aside from like a couple, maybe the last season of Lower Decks, I don't think I've missed anything. But at the end of the day, I still don't consider myself like I don't, a major fan. I did actually finally, after I got past the initial shock and awe of like Discovery, I did enjoy Discovery. And then the obviously Strange New Worlds that they're doing, I'm excited to see the new trailer. I do like some of the new some of the spins and the updates and stuff of they're doing some of these characters. So it's been fun, but at the same time, I don't like when they go off the rails and do like a freaking episode where everyone's going to be singing. It's like, what is this? This just, I mean, it just kind of it's just out there, and it's like this would never. I mean, it's kind of doing it for the sake of saying we could never do this on network TV, and it's true. See, and Taylor's saying it the other way. It started off strong and it became blah. Well, I think maybe I would say that you could say that with the way it finished. I think the very beginning was kind of like, to me, I don't know. I guess the very beginning with the Klingons, especially, it was just so jarring. And then some of these concepts of like, some of the things that they were doing were very jarring to me and disruptive, but it made season 1 difficult. At least the first like 4 episodes, because I think they presented like the first 3 or 4 episodes were available free on regular network or something. And I watched those, and then it was like, oh my God, I don't feel the need to go pay for this. And then later on said, well, let me just suck it up and watch this. And then it was like, okay, after about, you just got past that stuff. It was fine. Let's see. After Disney killed the extended lore for Star Wars, I have not really invested in extended lore for most properties. What's the point? Well, the point is that it can be fun and enjoyable reads and stuff. But I mean, obviously the extended lore, this is the thing that one thing I will say I don't have a problem with. A lot of Star Wars fans had massive issues with saying, oh, these things are all non-canon anymore. Well, yes, they did that, and it can hurt and stuff, but at the same time, it can open up storytelling, especially the way that they phrased it. And what everybody missed by was that they referred to it as legends. And so the concept was, especially since a lot of I probably had more of a problem just with some of the stuff like it was within the main timeline of the Luke Skywalker Han Solo era. but all the stuff of like, the Old Republic type stuff and all that other stuff, to refer to it as Legends was fine with me, because the way it was described was like, we're not saying these things don't exist. We're just saying that they didn't necessarily happen the way that it was written, because it's like people telling these tales over time, and these tales, might be exaggerated, or
Yeah,
and
it's
and and so when you actually
folklore.
right, so when you introduce these characters, you have some, and we've seen that where they've introduced characters like Thrawn and some of these other characters, and where we can have a little bit of, we're not bound by necessarily this stuff. And so I don't have a massive problem with it. I have more of a problem with the fact of how Disney then implemented that, and
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and chose to, especially with their three movies, to
So
way to take itty bitty pieces, but at the
Mhm.
same time completely trashed.
So what the thing is, unlike, say what you want to say about the MCU, which I personally love the MCU. I don't care what people say about it. I still love the MCU. But say what you want to say about the MCU and Kevin Feige's vision. That's it. There's a vision in place. Where Star Wars never really, when Kathleen Kennedy took over, she never really offered a vision for Star Wars. And what ended up happening is, we're just going to throw all these projects to the wall, and we're going to see which ones stick, which most of them did not. To be completely
They
honest with
announced
you.
a lot of stuff that went
Yeah.
nowhere. Yeah.
And what they did was they made these announcements. They created this hype around these announcements that simply were just that, announcement of option projects that may or may not happen, right? Everybody, the Patty Jenkins movie, that she literally did a video of her coming out of an X-wing. That never happened. You know what I mean? That's a movie that should have happened by now. And
Well,
then,
how many other trilogies did they announce
yeah, they
with this?
announced the Ryan Johnson trilogies. There was all this. There was talks about Kevin Feige doing one in some way, and really, and then they crapped on the bed with the new trilogy, because what they ended up doing is that the first one, I like Force Awakens for the sense that it brought me back to this world, and it gave me a lot of things I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it
What
should be pretty familiar when they just repeat what they've done before.
Yeah, exactly. So it kept my mind to the same concept and idea of the original, which really was, the same movie, only little things were changed here and there. So and I was fine with it because I enjoyed it. When it got to The Last Jedi, what you did was, and part in the term, because I know it's a term people don't like to use, they kind of want to make it woke in that way. And I hate that term myself personally, but it was like, well, the Force is not really like this, or the Force can't be this, or anybody can be this. When the original Star Wars movies, the first three, and then eventually the next three that follows, they really were about the Skywalkers. It was a story about the Skywalkers, but we've now gone to the point that we're expanding this lore of Star Wars, and you still are. It's like you want to keep it as a Skywalker story, but at the same time, you don't want to do it as a style. Make up your freaking mind already and make that and just go for it. If it fails, and just let it be. What they did was, people weren't happy about it, so they wanted to go right back to it and say, now she's a Skywalker. It's like,
well, it was a disjointed mess, because they didn't stick to any kind of clear vision, and they had people completely want to do their own things. And
they didn't have a beginning, middle, and end. They just had a beginning.
So it wasn't a cohesive story, and that's the biggest problem with it.
Mhm.
And to that end, there were roadmaps, and that's the biggest thing, right? With her was Kathleen Kennedy was to sit there and say, and there's so many interviews about this with the various parties, with Kathleen coming on and saying, oh, it's not like we had any kind of back history, or we didn't have any stories to write, and we had to come up with this stuff all on our own. And it's like, meanwhile, you had told Lucas you guys were going to maintain his stuff and do all these things, and that's why he walked away. He thought everything was in good hands, and instead, what you did is you completely blew up and threw out. You didn't just even say this stuff is just legends. That way, you could go make your own versions of it. you just blew it up and threw it away. The only reason why most of that stuff has been reintroduced is because of the stuff that's been going on with the Mandalorian and Clone Wars, and you get these people who actually care and actually are the true stewards of these franchises and stuff that care about it, and they've started to reintroduce these characters with their spin on it to the point where it's like, okay, I am totally cool with Thrawn in the way, in what's been going on, not only from what was introduced in Rebels to what the way he is in in the Ahsoka for now, and what we're doing and the way that they're trying to, they've been trying to rebuild essentially some of these stories, new versions of the classic stories, Heir to the Empire type stuff, which is great that you're doing it, and they're able to do, and because of the fact that Disney blew up that and made it Legends, allows them to make their interpretation of that type of stuff. Whereas if you said, no, this stuff's all canon, then you're saying, okay, then all I can do now is make a novel or make an adaptation of the novel, rather than say, hey, this is let's take this piece of this and this piece of this and let's make something better or different or as good. Hopefully, but the Heir to the Empire is like a for Star Wars fans is almost that's like the pinnacle of it all. It's like because it did not only did it continue the story so well, but it was one of the first direct kind of movie tie-in almost. Not the first, but one of the early before the books just became a billion books within this universe type thing. It was one of these first things, and the way it came out, it was well written. It had well done characters. It continued the story that with these characters people were interested in as a direct continuation of the movies, and it was great, and it gave you what you wanted. And then you followed it up with several other books from other authors, and Lucas was very tightly controlling in those days, early days of those books, and making sure that they aligned with certain vision stuff, which is why it's so weird to see you go, okay, we're going to completely blow it up until we start to borrow certain things like, oh, okay, we're going to have Ben Solo, but I mean that's not really Luke's, and Ben Solo isn't Luke and isn't Han and Leia's kid. Was Ben was a Luke's kid's name, and it's like well, but Han, we're wrapping up all three Luke and Han and Leia kids all into one, and with this Darth Ren Stimpy, I don't know. Anyways,
it was just it was just sloppy, no cohesive connection, no really they had no story Bible. That's what they call it. They call it a Bible where it's like everything. They didn't know everything. They just, and a lot of it was because beforehand Lucas knew everything that he wanted to do and he had their plans. I think where they excel is in their TV rather than their movies, because their movies are terrible. But even in their TV, The Mandalorian, the first, like you said, the first seasons are great. Rogue was great. Andor's really good. And Skeleton Crew gives the kids something to watch, which is also pretty good. I didn't get to watch Skeleton Crew yet. But I do plan to.
It is way better than you would think it was. That was one of those things where I walked into it not expecting much out of it, and was vastly surprised because it's a very different type of storytelling essentially within the Star Wars universe, and it's just perfect because it's within the Star Wars universe, but it's not necessarily a Star Wars story.
It's like It's like the Ewoks movie, right? It's in the Star Wars universe,
It is
but
only
it's over
good.
here.
Yeah, it is, but only good. They-
I know. I had to throw something out.
yeah, I mean, look, Lucas always wanted to do, and there's been some talk recently about this series that he had kind of mapped out and stuff. Recently, I've seen it come up. He wanted to do a series where you just went around the corner in this
Mhm.
universe and saying, like, this is a big universe, man. We don't have to focus on this group of characters. Let's go over here and do these other things within this universe. And we kind of did that with a lot of these shows and stuff, and it's good. And it's established a lot of iconic characters. I mean, out of these types of things from it. But when it came to the Disney trilogy movies, it's like the first movie when I went and saw it, Force Awakens, I was like, oh, throughout the whole thing, I'm just like, the part that made it difficult for me and why I don't go back and I don't rewatch it and stuff was like, I had my feel good moments seeing certain characters come back. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, this is the first movie. This is just a recreation of the first movie. And I get it. I mean, it had its own. When I walked out of the theater initially, I was like, oh, excited. But then, like, as I just processed it all, I was just like, oh, this was just, this was kind of like the safe. We need to I'm going to establish this, and we're going to do it safe. So then it's like, okay, so what's number 2 going to be? And we get number 2, and it's just all over the place. And the worst part to me, that just completely threw that thing off the rails, is you have these guys go to Canto, to the casino planet, Canto Bight, do this whole thing. Meanwhile, these guys are having their individual adventure. Meanwhile, the fleet is like trying to run for its life or whatever. They're playing Battlestar Galactica, and they, when you come back, it's like the whole rest of the plot hinges on the fact that these guys were gone. They come back with this character that no one's ever met before, but he somehow knows all the plans and can reveal them all to the First Order. How does he have nobody on that ship knew any of the plans, because they were being done while they're off planet? There's been no communication between them. How does this third party know?
So you had that. You had the casino where there was a mission that really led to nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you had the Force kids that they introduce at the end of the movie, like, oh, this kid has the Force, and you never see him in the third part. Never. It's like,
and never mind the fact that Luke being a fucking dick.
Yeah, which he shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's been through stuff, but
yeah, you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah, he's gone off to be a hermit, whatever, because he's trying to find it. He's questioning himself and stuff. But yeah, it was
the
just
hermit part. I get the hermit, because it's kind of like a thing that he could do, right? Like, he's like, oh, the people I follow were hermits. I'll be a hermit. But then to become this like straight up jerk about it, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think,
madam?
Hey, Izzy.
How we doing?
I'm okay, Izzy. I feel bad. I feel like I should apologize to you.
Why?
Because I was on Razor's show, and he was saying how he had some algorithm to make his channel grow.
Yeah.
And then he said something like, Izzy, and he laughed or something. So I laughed, and I'm like, I should laugh. I'm Izzy's friend.
I didn't see it, so I wouldn't know. You were on Razor's show? Look at you.
I know.
Yeah. I got no beef with Razor.
Okay, cool.
No, we squashed that a while ago.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. How are you,
Yeah,
Rob?
so in all fairness, we talked it off.
Okay.
We talked it off like men.
Good.
And then that's it. We just let it be.
Awesome.
So that I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I got no beef with Razor for sure. So.
Yeah. I got no issues with him.
Okay.
Like I said, when you talk it off and you get it past, you get over it. That's it. You get over it. I think we both had misunderstandings in both ends, I want to say. And then that's it.
Yeah.
We just let it be.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's human,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just wants to be accepted, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I started a sculpture, a fertility goddess sculpture, and I walked
Ooh.
downstairs today, and she's in half now.
What happened?
She got a little top heavy. I'll show her to you. Hold on. I'll show you the top. Yeah, the best piece right now. I don't like the way her chest is broken open.
Oh wow.
She was she was going to be a fertility goddess and have like antlers, branches coming out of her with eggs, and she was holding up an egg here, and there was the rest of her body.
Is that going to be a full piece, or that's just going to be a bust?
It was a full piece. Let me get the bottom half. I'll show you.
Oh,
because it looks like this could just be a piece now, right?
That could look like a bust right by itself.
Totally. And I kind of like the way it ripped right down the center of her chest.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in art, you just have to go with it,
She's the goddess of Easter candy.
What did you say?
I'll be right back, guys.
I only did that because I wanted something uniform to mold, and those will end up in being bronze. Yeah. So this is her booty, the back of her. Thanks, Rob. This is the side of her. This is the front of her, and then if I take this, I apply this on top of here somehow. Should become one. Let me see how bad this is. I can stick around there. There we go. So that's more like what she's supposed to look like.
I like it.
Do you like it, Rob?
I do.
Thank you so much. Because at first when I made her, I didn't have hair on her. I just had her antler branches things coming off of her head, and she was bald. Okay.
Yeah, no, I need some hair. I mean,
and then my boyfriend came downstairs and he's like, "What are you making? Like that looks demonic. It looks like Ripley from Aliens."
I mean, yeah.
I guess she needs some hair.
There's an element of like I think the bald shaved head woman is a unique fetish, so it doesn't necessarily, I think, appeal to many when it comes to art.
All right. How are you doing, Ron? How was your con? I saw you went to a con, right?
I did. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Was it a terrible con to go to? A terrible tiny con.
Tired as all hell. Oh, that
This
one.
is called I had to answer.
Yeah, so I went to 2 cons back-to-back weeks. So one was 2 weeks ago. Was
Trying to live my life.
Was the OhanaCon, which was just it's a little chain. I mean, they put on like a series of conventions, and they do them like in podunk towns around here, like Turlock and whatever.
What qualifies as a podunk town?
They're not in the main cityscapes up there. They're like little mixed. The towns are typically they're not necessarily rural, but they are. They do have a heavier agriculture ties and than compared to the city of the Bay Area, like the Bay Area mega cities.
Okay.
Or Los Angeles mega city, right? So when you go out into these areas in Central Valley and stuff, like Turlock and Clovis and some of these other towns that people have never heard of if you're not from the area. But so they typically they just set up in an Elks Lodge. It's a one-day thing for a few hours. They're in an Elks Lodge. The fact that they call them Comic Cons is a stretch of the imagination
Yeah, I
because
saw that.
it's primarily basically like toys and anime stuff with, it happens to be a couple people who have a few comics there. But I mean, they use it as a term that people understand. They're great little shows if you have little kids because you can take the kids there. It's got a lot of the stuff that the kids are interested in, from plushies and Pokemon and figures and toys and everything else. And the comic vendors that are there, or the people who bring comics, is what, in addition to their other stuff, they understand that, and so they bring. There's a lot of boxes of dollar books and cheap stuff there that people can dig through, and so not a lot to choose from a book standpoint for a collector necessarily. But it's inside of an Elks Lodge, so it's like not a huge room. It's not even. It's like maybe the size of like half a basketball court,
Oh,
type
God.
of thing. So there's
Hey, Marcus.
these tables set up. People can walk through there, and you're basically done in no time flat, or going through it. But
Like
again,
5 minutes, you're done.
yeah, but if you have kids, it's great because they have little attention span for that type of stuff. You don't have to, they're not walking all darn day, and they do have a little quote unquote cosplay competition. It's not nobody's showing up there in these amazing cosplays, right? These are like somebody's got like, at best they've got buy the one piece Spider-Man outfit that they put on and go, oh, look at that, all of a sudden I'm Spider-Man, or nobody's. It's all store-bought costumes type things almost. Nothing's like elaborate. Might be some there's some hand done stuff, but it's nothing like crazy, right?
Right.
So from that aspect, that's fine. I mean, if it serves its purpose and place. I went there. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to one before. In my mind, I had a different vision of what it was. I thought it would be more collectors or old Elks members or something, like older guys that had like these personal collections, that they're just kind of more garage sale, but comic
so
book
you
focused.
felt old.
No, I was hoping for that, I guess, but
I know what you're talking about, because there's.
Yeah, I was thinking more of a comic. I was hoping for more of a comic swap and less of here's a bunch of toys. Cheap Chinese,
with a bunch of kids.
cheap imported toys.
So around here, there's a lot of that, and you have to you have to proceed with caution of what you're gonna do, because we have 3 different types of shows that happen over here. You have your comic shows, which are exactly what you want, which is a show that it's their agenda is comic books, and those are the best shows for me personally. Then you have pretty much your pop culture shows, and that's pretty much where you went to. It was more of a pop culture show, where
more
it's like
of an anime show is really
but they call it pop culture because they expand a little bit more than just that. And then finally you have the indie show, and the indie show could be a little mix of everything, but really it dominates on indie creators getting their name across, getting to the public, being able to offer things to everybody. It's challenging when you don't know what to expect. You know what I mean? It's like it becomes that,
and that's fine. And I didn't know what to expect on it, because we've had different, we have different levels of shows here. Obviously, we have the full blown, fan expo stuff, and then we've got the one of the best damn shows as far as like in the Berkeley Comic Show, happening this Saturday. By the way, anybody in the Bay Area, you can go to the Berkeley Comic Show up in Berkeley. I highly recommend it if you're looking for it, because it is literally like a gym filled with nothing but comics. There are no toy vendors. There are no any of that stuff. No card vendors. No, it is comics. and so it's a great show from that aspect. And then there's, some other local smaller cons. I like, I go to East Bay Con, I go to the San Jose Con, some of these other ones which is put on by one group of people, and they tend to be, they have guests come, like the last one, East Bay Con, their big headliner was Michael B. And they get, so they'll get some celebrities, and they'll get some comic artists, and local. So most of them are more local, or regional comic artists. But hey, Chris Marinan becomes like a big draw for them, and that's fine. It's that B/C level
Mhm.
con, and you have a mix again, like most cons these days. It's a mix of toys and comics and all that stuff. But you have more.
Toys and comics and
But
crap.
But you have, yeah, but you have a good,
Sorry.
but you have a good,
There.
but you have a mix versus this was like everything except comics. Oh, and like 4 guys also had a few boxes of comics there.
Yeah.
One guy had a little rack, quote unquote, back wall, a tabletop back wall, that was there that had, like a dozen books on it. And that's where I got the Voltron and the SDCC ash can for
Mhm.
Transformers. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, that was that con, and that was fine. It was just, I didn't need to spend a lot of money because I knew I was going to WonderCon the following weekend. And
Yeah.
that's where I was this last weekend. Was I traveled to Anaheim and spent 3 days. Friday. Well, I mean, Sunday actually I was only there for like 2 hours. I was just trying to. On Sunday I was there to try to pick up a couple pieces of art that were still being done,
Mhm.
and picked up 3. I had 3 pieces that were in flight for pickup Sunday morning, and when I was there, 2 of the 3 got done. One of them was not done. So that was fine. I mean, I had told that artist to take his time, and if he needed to take it home, that was fine too, because he was like one of the few I didn't get the book to in the mail ahead of time, so I delivered it to him Friday.
Okay.
And so he was working on it, during the con and stuff. And I said, hey, if you don't get to it, that's fine. I don't have a problem with having it shipped.
That's-
And
That's what you want. Is you want them to have the time at home. To
Yeah,
spend more time
exactly.
on it.
Yeah, I usually get more. Yeah, I usually get better stuff. And so
Yeah.
know,
You
he-
usually do get better stuff.
he was super apologetic that he didn't get it done. When I got there Sunday to pick it up, he's like, oh, I'll have it later today because I got these other guys who were leaving this morning. I said, well, actually, I am leaving this morning too. So I'm fine with you shipping it to me. He's like, oh, okay, man. So, and he was like, oh, okay, since that's the case, and you know what, who's your other? Because he was doing it's Peter Smith, and he was doing a Mad Hatter, Batman animated style Mad Hatter for me on a animated blank.
Okay.
And so he was like, oh, okay. He's like, well, what's another Batman animated series character that you like? And I was like, oh, Harley Quinn. He's like, all right, I'll do another sketch cover for you for free of Harley Quinn. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I said, since you're doing that, I'll tell you what I'm going to do just to make you feel better about it. I said, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to donate that to Comics Curing Cancer. And he goes, oh, and he goes, he asked me a question or two about that. And he goes, I'll tell you what, in that case, I'm going to send you another one. and then he says, and I'll send you some exclusives that are signed and remarked for the convention for Comics Curing Cancer and stuff. So it was like, so it was great. So it turned out great. So it was like
Rob, that's awesome. What a great
right. So
conversation to have with that guy.
exactly. Well, I always like to. With all these artists, I like to plant the seed of there and to kind of see how they gauge stuff. Do I know who to reach out to for certain things and stuff? So, yeah. So that was cool. That con, I realized like after the fact, it's like, because Friday I got there, I did my usual thing Friday, which is after I got the exclusive, it was focus on the artist alley.
Mhm.
Just get all my commissions going, get all my books signed, which was great because like at Heroes for 2 years, I've had a book to get signed by Ron Lim.
Okay.
And Ron Lim has had a line
Really?
at Heroes Con when I would go by there, or it was like, and not like a short line. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I've got other things I want to do, type stuff. But I went to at WonderCon and on Friday, and I walked right up to the table and just was able to get him to sign book I've been waiting for a couple years to get signed. So it was like, okay, great. And I thought it was the same thing with Mitch Gerards and like all these other guys. I was able to get these signatures like super quick and super easy. The only person that I had a book to get signed that I didn't get signed because, again, I just had no desire to sit in the line. It was like God, I don't even remember who the fuck it was. Whoever it was.
Whoever's so unimportant now.
No, it was a writer. He's a writer. The name I'm not having a good mental day today. My brain is missing a lot of.
It's called Friday. You got a case of Fridays.
It's called dementia, Rob. Actually.
But
It's called dementia.
yeah, but he was taking his time. He was having these long conversations with people, and I was just like, oh, I don't have any time to sit here and wait. I had waited like 10 minutes and the line hadn't moved at all. And I was like, oh, I'm not, by this, no, I'm done. Because it wasn't a book that I was having him sign.
Yeah.
Or just him. Like it was a Marvel 1000. So it was like a book I have like a bunch of signatures on.
Oh.
And because a billion people worked on it. And this wasn't a creator that was like not at cons. So it was like, I'll just come back another time. It's like, move on.
Face you always see.
Yeah, exactly. So from that aspect, it was, that was no big deal. And then I started, the way I started walking then through the con, like I didn't see hardly any comics on Friday. Because
everyone had bought them all?
Well, no, all the comics were like most of the comics were at one end of the con. And apparently the Artist Alley was at the other end of the con. And so as I was being methodical, going like aisle by aisle, kind of walking down the aisles and stuff, I wasn't at the comics. And there were a few, like, Brian Comic Web. I did come across his booth because he was a little bit separate from. There were some others that were like little bits here and there. But there was a very interesting variety and mix of pricing. Like one of the booths I came across Friday was this huge set of tables. I mean, they must have had, it was probably at least 4 booths worth of space. Izzy, if you can think of like a standard, the 10 by 10, it was probably at least a 40 by 40 space, if not bigger. It might have been 40 by 60. And it just one company, boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of books. And as I looked through them, it's like, okay, I'm not digging through all this shit. So it was like, okay, let me look at the Batman, let me look at Captain America, these runs I'm working on. And I'd find some books in there, but they seemed like, for the most part, they were a little bit high.
Yeah.
There were a few books I'd find. And then I looked at their wall, and that's when I knew, this was not the booth to spend a lot of money at, because I'd see the things like, oh, look at that. They got an Eternals #1 in a 9.6 and they want $400 for it. It's like, yeah, no, we're moving on.
That's the kind of stuff that irritates me about some dealers, that they give you this. And again, this to each his own, right? I'm not saying anything that they can't do what they want to do. It's their books, right? But they put these price tags on books that don't exist. And and part of the reason has to deal with that they like the bargaining. They want to bargain it off, but they also want to be able to get that gullible person that's going to pay that.
Well,
there's one guy who's going to pay that money.
Yeah, because they think that's what it's worth because there's no research behind it, right?
Well, in this case, when I talked to the lady that was running it,
there
were a few books there that like I'd asked to take a look at.
X-Men Twins.
Before I just realized a trend on these things being high. She was saying like, oh, well, these haven't been priced in over a year.
Then price them.
Yeah, I mean, I get it that you can't price everything, but maybe your wall books, I would think that periodically you would do it, because that is like what people are gonna. If these are the books you're putting up on your wall, these are the ones that people are gonna judge you on quickly. But then she would like look them up, and like there was like I asked her about. She had a Mr. Miracle #1, and I'm interested in getting a Mr. Miracle #1. And she showed it to me. I'm like, I handed it right back to her when I saw the price tag on it. And she's like, oh, well, let me look it up. And I was like, I had moved on in my mind. And she's like, oh, you see, wouldn't you say that this is this grade and this is the price it's selling for? So, I'm like, oh, I don't care.
That's
I
lazy.
said, I said, to be perfectly honest, I said, the price isn't the problem on this book. The condition is. I was looking for a better conditioned book. And this is not, it was like, and she's like, oh. I'm like, oh, I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you to go look it up. You just started trying to look it up to try to pitch me and show me that your pricing's right, and it wasn't. But I mean, that book you weren't as far off on. Congratulations. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the condition I wanted. I don't want a 7.0 or 6.5 graded copy of, or ungraded. It was raw.
You're such a diva, Bob.
I'm sorry, the book's not that old. I don't need, if that was a book from the 60s, I could be fine with a 6570 copy, but it's not. It's a modern book. So, if I went to Justin and say, Justin, would you pay over $200 for a raw 6.5 copy of Mr. Miracle #1? Justin's going to say,
yes.
Fuck no.
Oh,
actually, what I would say is that's a key. So I would make sure to buy it graded.
What you want? Don't you want a better copy than a 6.5?
Oh no. Yeah, yes. Yes.
Exactly.
You were talking about Rob. You were talking about the artist Ron Lim.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Is that right? Okay, I haven't heard of him before, so I'm looking him up.
Yes,
He did Silver Surfer.
This
He
is
did some
pretty cool.
Infinity Gauntlet. Yep, that's
Yeah.
one of his pieces.
I had him sign an absolute certified banger book.
And this is wicked.
I watched the video, so I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He signed my X-Men 2099 #1 newsstand copy.
That's the book that put your kids through college, man.
That's right.
Maybe one day of college.
Or you just talk them into trade
They
school.
could buy him a meal at college.
I know.
I don't know, man. I see college prices.
Yeah, as I said, you could buy him a meal.
Imagine if you go to like your college
cafeteria.
Imagine if you go to your college bookstore and you buy, how you buy those textbooks at like $100, $200, and you say, "Wait, I'll give you an X-Men 2099 signed by Rob Lim for that chemistry book." What do you say?
Nowadays, my kid, they lease their book, they rent their books.
Yeah,
they don't even like do the old let me buy and sell back thing. They just straight up rent them.
Hey, I'd rather rent a book than lease.
Books are going out of style. Did you know?
It is true. There's a lot of
dinosaurs.
There's a lot of classes my kid didn't even have books for. Like this term, I saw several messages that the teacher said, "Oh, you don't need any textbooks or anything. We're just going to do everything on Moodle or whatever they're using for their."
Moodle.
Wow.
I feel like you would rent textbooks to begin with, because you would buy them at the beginning of the year and then just sell them back to the bookstore at the end of the year.
Exactly.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah.
That was the
So
only
that could
option
be
back in the
considered-
day.
Those were the good old days, man.
Good old days. I have a complete set of encyclopedias downstairs. What do you think those are worth?
What year are they from? That's the question. Because
like 1984 or something.
the last set of encyclopedias I had in my family's property was for like a book set of encyclopedias from the 50s. So
who's the manufacturer? Who's the publisher? Is it Britannica?
I don't know. Now I will go get one and see.
there you go.
Okay.
You do that. At least Madam knows that if the internet goes out, she still can look up things.
I can still learn.
And learning is fundamental.
I remember that was the thing, right? You had the encyclopedia, then I also had the somewhere around here still, there probably is a copy of the New York Public Library reference book, and it's a book like yay thick, and it's just like all kinds of like just broad range of categories, things of just like formulas or different things and conversion charts and different things for as a reference guide for that you would just randomly today like ask Google, hey, I want to convert kilometers to miles, you know.
Yeah. Do you know what was really fucked up with the Dewey Decimal System?
That Dewey.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it just asinine, stupid? I mean, I'm just like, God.
No, not the Dewey. Dewey really wanted that to be a big deal, and it was.
He got his,
Dewey got his time to shine.
his 15 minutes.
Librarians everywhere are wondering why you're shitting on them, madam.
Like, how dare you talk about Dewey that way?
Dewey's our
It's
God.
enough that his name is Dewey, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I gotta go get this.
Yeah, Justin, I don't think there were any letterers there.
There probably weren't.
They might have been attending.
The
I'm sorry.
WonderCon?
There might have been attendees that were letterers, but you know,
Sure.
they fly under.
don't know
I
how
hear that
big-
they can fly in under the radar, and even though that they have these big like rock star mentalities, the reality is that they just kind of look like all the groupies.
Okay, so Justin, where you would compare as far as a rock star mentality, where would the letterer fall? Would like, you know, like you got the artist who's
sure.
kind of well, maybe the artist will be the singer will be the artist and like the guitarist will be the writer, or would it be the other way around? What would the letterer be?
So there are two
triangle?
spots. Okay, one bass player, or
Shouldn't the colorist be the bass player? Would the inker be the drummer?
okay, sure,
Keyboardist.
or either guitar tech or the person who sets up the lights.
The groupie.
Stagehand, yeah.
Yeah, stagehand.
No, and everyone maybe he comes in to hit for the one song, play the triangle or
the miscellaneous guy,
the
tambourine guy,
yeah, cowbell,
the cowbell. You're the cowbell.
I saw the Offspring back in the early 2000s, and what they would have is they'd have like a really fat guy come out wearing a diaper at intermission throwing candy bars to people, and they'd be like, hey everyone, it's intermission, and then the guy would come out, throw candy bars. I could see that being a letterer as well.
The fat diaper candy bar thrower.
Nice.
Okay. The roadie. You could be the roadie.
Yeah.
The roadie's a good position. You know, they're the ones that get things done.
Well, I guess the real question is, whose role is it in the band to always be trying to get everybody else caught up because they all ran behind on their deadlines?
Roadie.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I
You
found
also get the sloppy seconds.
Oh. World book. Okay.
Wow,
Okay.
it's so small to be a world book. You
there
ever
were
thought
so
about
many to choose from. I didn't know which letter to choose, and instead
So you chose the D. Got
that? The
it.
D for D bag.
Madam
I
went
chose
with
D.
the. Madam says like, what do I want? I want the D.
Anyway.
Thank you for that one.
And it comes with pictures too.
It does come with great pictures, and let me see what year this was. D-Day. Yeah.
Oh,
In the
goodness
back.
gracious.
I think it's 1997.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
There's the Cupid dolls. You guys remember Cupid dolls?
Wow. Look at those photos, man. Those things had to have been like 1950s or something. Like the minute they invented color cameras, that's how they showed up.
Look, this is called a drill.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
This is the kind of riveting content you get nowhere else than other on the Legion channel, which
I
will
do
only
have
be
the
going on
order
for a
of,
few minutes
Ascension
longer
here.
because I have to actually do some work this morning. But let's before I
Same
have
here.
my meeting. Justin, you came on and graced us here. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Excellent. Anything interesting going on in your world? Any recent attendances or?
I will be at C2E2 next weekend. Not tabling because I did not get a table. I'm
You'll
sorry.
be as an attendee.
Yeah, I will be wandering around. And I'd like to stress that I didn't get a table not because I didn't try, but because ReadPop didn't feel like I was important enough to get one.
Have you thought about bringing your own flip top table and signing your stuff as you walk around?
No, I would like to be able to attend ReadPop shows in the future.
like
You know what I mean?
Like the cigarette girl and just a little tray table
So
around your
great.
neck
I would love to see that.
with a little sign with a well, he's got a
He has a
backpack
little
and he's got
cap
like
on.
he's got like a sign coming up out of his back that's a letterer Justin Birch with arrows pointing down.
If you have a book, I might have lettered it.
Holding letterer.
Oh, that would be so great. And then what you could do, Justin, is you could hire somebody else. There was a cosplayer at WonderCon that was walking around. They had like bells on. They were kind of like in a little medieval kind of outfit, but they just carried a sign that said side quests. So you could go up to them and get side quests to go do. So you could hire someone to do it where the side quest is go find a letterer. Go.
I actually support that idea.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
that's a good idea.
Rob, the important question for you is, was WonderCon good? Would you go back again?
Yeah, it was good from a standpoint of there was a lot of community members there, a fair number, from the local community, plus of course the club members, which made it a lot of fun from that aspect. I think that it was a well-rounded show in that it wasn't too big, but it was big.
Mm-hmm.
It had a good mix of everything, for something for everyone. It had a decent number of comic book vendors. The pricing was, there were some vendors that were better than others. It definitely wasn't like but it was kind of what I expected from Anaheim. I don't expect Heroes Con pricing in Anaheim. I ended up with the fact that I had to split this hall into two halls, because I still have the second hall, which is be Monday, which is the stuff for my PC, which I mean I did pretty good. In addition to getting 7 sketch covers and whatever else, so it was I think the value was there, and what was really nice was I never felt like it was super crowded. There were people, and you'd have to move around, but it wasn't, even on Saturday, it wasn't like wall to wall people trying to squeeze in front of to look in a box of books or something, right? There was always seemed to be space that you could move around in, and you could get to things easily. You didn't feel like you were getting swallowed by the crowds. The only thing that was really a negative to me was as I was walking on the con at one point on, I think it was Friday, I realized it was later than I thought it was, and I hadn't eaten or had anything to drink. And so I went to the concession stand that was inside the convention hall. And I said, I'm just going to get myself like a hot dog and some water.
And then you were broke.
No.
$20 later.
No, I walked up and I'm like,
Money.
there's people standing behind. There was no line when I went there. There were people standing behind the counter, and they all just kind of stood there as I walked up, and I'm like, there was like the steam table, all the places like for the food. It was like nothing there. It was the idea was like there should be stuff that was there. You grab it and you go to the register. There was nothing there, hardly. There was like a thing of like wilting fries, and I'm like walking up and down. Well, I went to one person. Well, where do I order what I want? And they're like, oh, because there wasn't really even a menu up, clearly. And they're like, oh, and there's something over there. So I go down that side and looking around, and there's nothing. And I ask what, and they go, oh, over there, and they point the other direction. I go back. Finally, I walk up to the register person who's sitting there. I go, where the hell do I order? And I go, oh no, you just grab. So finally, I said, well, they said they're pointing me here, they're pointing me there. Nobody wants to seem to do anything. And so finally, she walks up to the counter and says, hey, he wants to get a hot dog. And they sit there and they go, they don't have any. and she said, what do you mean you don't have any? Before I could even say it. And she's like, they're cooking. So like they had like no food ready at all. Like when I went up there, it was like everything was cooking supposedly or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I just walked away. I was like so pissed. I just go,
Rob had to carry the unit. He was going to just about to go off, I could tell.
That was my fault for trying to eat at the concession stand inside the convention hall. We had in and out privileges, and they had set up outside in front. There were a ton of food trucks, but obviously the food trucks, they have limited kitchen capacities, and when you have 24 food trucks out there, when you have thousands of people, they become inundated, and food truck waits then become like 20-30 minute waits to get something like a set of tacos. So that is, and then the hotel was the absolute pain in the ass, because the Hilton, which I stayed in, which was adjacent to the property, they've been renovating the Hilton apparently for a while now and behind schedule on it. And they decided that because on Friday everything was fine, they decided Saturday and Sunday would be good days to take a bank of elevators down and block them off for work. So they went down to one bank of 4 elevators to service a very large hotel with thousands of convention goers. Plus there was a Mary Kay convention going on. So
that changes everything.
So there's like 2 different major groups here in this hotel that's booked, and you're trying to use 4 elevators. And of course, an elevator will go down. And then at one point there was 2 elevators. The line at the elevator was probably shorter than the line for any ride at Disneyland across the street, because it was like they wrapped around the hotel at one point to wait for the elevators to go up, and then people would try to like sneak in, and fights were breaking out at the elevator.
Stairs? Like how tall is this hotel?
14 floors.
Well, get on some stairs.
I'm on the 10th floor, and I got a roller thing.
All the way up.
Comics, the hell with that. Have you looked at me, madam? I'm a fat man.
That doesn't mean you can't run down some stairs,
Down? Well, I'm talking about going up.
Okay, you can go up the stairs too. It'll just take you a little longer, maybe.
No, I will die on the 3rd floor, and you will never have heard. You guys will all be sitting there going, I wonder if Rob's doing only slabs. Why didn't he do? I thought he was off for 1 week.
Hey, I need you for next week, man.
Yeah. So like, anyway, so the elevator situation it got so bad. How bad was it? It was so bad that at one point, the people it was getting jammed up coming down too. And so that at first I was like, no big deal, because I was on the 10th floor. There was only a couple floors above me. So pretty much the elevator would go up, and then as it would come down, I would pretty much get on it, no big deal. But what ended up happening was people in the 5th, 6th, and floors, they got so fed up with not being able to get a spot in the elevator that as the elevator would go up, they'd get on it and ride it all the way up to ride it back down. So then on the 10th floor, I sat there at one point trying to go down for breakfast. 3 different elevators in a row that came. The doors would open. There was no way for me to get on to go down.
He's in there. I would just
No,
rush
there
in.
it was a Japanese subway. Okay. And I had no attendant to help push me in. So
The worst part about that situation is that
everybody knows what I'm talking about.
The worst part is there's always going to be that one person on that full elevator that when the doors open and you're standing there, they're like, "Oh, sorry."
And then there's the awkward, nobody hits the closed door button. So it just sits there open for a while. You're all looking at each other awkwardly. Yeah.
You know, but there is that person that legitimately is trying to leave the elevator open, but they're trying to push, but they push the wrong button because they don't know the icon properly, so they close it.
Yeah, so it was problematic from that aspect. Did they block the stairs as well?
It was like a third world situation.
I tell you, I did think about it, but thank God when I was leaving on Sunday. And of course the floors in this hotel. At first, I thought the first night.
It'd be easier if you talked about what you didn't complain about.
I got an upgrade. I got upgraded to a king suite. I had a king suite with a view of the fireworks for Disney, so I was able to pull up my chair to the window and watch the fireworks. It was great from that aspect. But that first night, after I had a drink, I was like, "Oh man!" As I walked around the room, I felt like I was unstable when I was drunk. I'm like, "Oh, I only had one drink and I ate. What's going on?" And I realized it's the floors. The floors were like sloped, and so when you actually looked at them, when you went out into the hallway even, and you're looking down the hallway for doors, optically, the floors were not level. It was like, and so there would be like these spots where it would slope down this way and slope this way, whatever, and it was really odd. And I remember the best experiences at all this place was really the bell service. The bellman going up was good, but the bellman when I was leaving, absolutely fabulous. I was mentioned something about the floors. He goes, "Oh, dude, yeah, these floors are bad." He says, "But you should be you just be glad you weren't on the 5th floor. That is the worst. The floors on the 5th floor are insanely screwed up." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." You know, it's like talking about a building that has settled over 50 years or something.
We're upgrading you to the 5th floor.
but what was really cool was like, then he goes like, at first was, "It's okay, I'll meet you at your car," right? Because gets the trolley, it's got all my books and or all my stuff, and he's wheeling out. He says, "I'll meet you at your car outside," because they have a service elevator. And as we walk to the regular elevators, we see the line there. He's all, "Dude, just keep going, come with me." And he took me to the service elevator and then walked through the back. He's like, "Oh, you don't need to wait in that fucking line. That's ridiculous."
Did you look at people in the line? Did you make eye contact with them?
I look at them.
I'm staring at you.
Like, see you later, bitches. Maybe if you sprung for the bell service, you'd get this VIP treatment, yo. All you got to do is tip the sucker.
You're like, "Oh man."
Well, it was like, I could do it, but it's like I had a roller bag, plus I had a rolling tote, plus I had this and that. I had enough things that would have been like cumbersome to carry it all to begin with, but you could do it. And then knowing the elevators, how jammed up the elevators were, I was just thinking to myself, man, getting this stuff all into an elevator, is gonna be the other issue. And so that was kind of like, okay, I'm sure these guys have a service elevator, so I'm gonna just hit the bell desk and have them. So when I came back over from the con that morning, I'm all stopped at the bell desk and say, "Hey, can you send somebody up?" And that was yeah, no worries.
There you go.
Get out of there.
I have a
7-hour
question
drive.
not about this con though. But
Yeah.
I have a question about a different con. Heroes Con.
Yes.
I am wondering, since I've never been before,
You should go.
is there a time and a place that everyone meets for like one big group photo?
Yes. So the chat room that you're in,
that I never look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I haven't got my plane ticket yet, so therefore I feel like I'm,
well, so there's a couple different things happen. So a lot of people will meet and have different pictures and different stuff, different times,
Okay.
right? Because you don't know everybody who in the chat room necessarily, or not everybody is in the chat room that shows up. But there's a lot of photos that occur throughout the con as people meet people and everywhere else. But there is a gathering on Friday night
Yes.
that is a dinner at it's gonna be at a public house essentially around the corner, and so that's going to be heavily attended, so there'll be a lot of pictures done there, and then of course the other place that a lot of people are at the West End. There's a lot of people who are either show up at breakfast or show up at after the con, that are hanging out there at the bar there and other type of stuff. And so
what I'm talking about though is I want a
organized
in my imagination. It would be really cool if like at 12 o'clock on Friday, everyone meets in front of the convention sign. Everyone who,
yeah, there's not
try to get a big group of us, and
there's not that.
Let me ask you a question, madam. Have you ever tried wrangling cats?
I have 4 cats.
Have you ever tried to get them all to enter the same small space at the same time?
I have catnip and tuna. I know what to do.
Okay, so you need
we need catnip. That's what you're saying.
Of cans of tuna to make this work.
So what you need to do is get yourself a giant size X-Men number 1.
We need to get out some candies and throw out some
candy. No, you just get yourself a giant size X-Men number 1 and say, hey, I'm going to have a raffle. Everybody who shows up at this spot at this time is going to be entered to win this book. All you have to do is show up.
You'll have most of them. You won't have everybody though.
Yeah,
I like that idea. That's a good idea. That's
because JB and I will be like, we got that book.
Okay. You already got that book. I don't need it. I think the closest thing that you're going to get to that,
I'm too busy digging. Yeah.
A lot of people have a tendency of sticking around the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the best.
Well, that's one circle. There's a lot of different. Yeah. The nice thing about Heroes are there are lots of different circles of people that groups that show up, because the comic book community isn't isn't this group of people who hang, and it isn't this group of people. It's multiple. It's a very vast thing, and there are different circles of influence and spheres within that community, and it's why we try to use that leverage with Comics Curing Cancer, right? Is get other people who's like, I'm connected to certain people, but then like Izzy's got people that he's connected to that I know, and people that I don't know, and JB same way, and you, Madam, right, and everything else. Razor, all these different people have these different field groups that they're connected to, and maybe you're tangentially. So the same thing happens at Heroes, right? There's these different elemental groups that are there, and sometimes they get the opportunity to merge and meet together and meet up, and sometimes they stay predominantly in their own little circles. But it's not that there's not crossover events, but that's just people are comfortable with who they're comfortable with, their packs and stuff.
Dang,
and that's
you
great.
make it sound like a prison thing. Like
no, not they're not.
Yes, we all. At times we walk around with our pockets out like this.
Nobody's sitting there going like, hey, I need you to go to shank this dude over here, or we're beefing with them. I mean, well, Justin does, but that's just usually he's like, this guy freaking told me
he has his inkwell.
Justin's sits on high, and he goes, this son of a bitch fucking wanted me to fucking ride around a goddamn schooner, and I want him dead. And,
all right, and Justin, I understand you can't do shit because you have to protect your hands.
And you have to, and I want you to go shank him with this fucking goddamn pen, because this is the pen that ran out of ink relettering this 7 times for this son of a bitch, and I got no extra compensation. Anyways, that's 7 o'clock. I have a meeting to run to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming out and hanging with us. We're sorry that Mark couldn't come back, but it is Masters Weekend or Masters Weeks or whatever, and he is working hardcore nonstop for the next couple weeks. So, sorry. All right, and until next time, we are Legion. Dum 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 dum.
See you guys. Bye.